Hey, Facebook family, happy Thursday. Welcome, welcome. I'm a little tardy. Don't judge me. You guys know Warrior Queen has been tremendously busy, and so I'm a little late. I just finished up another Zoom conference, and so as you guys come into the room and I get settled in, I'm going to share this on my other timeline. Give me a minute. Welcome to the first four of you who are here in the room. Welcome, welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Hey, Kimberly Traveler girl, you back in the country? You didn't find that king over there in Morocco or Egypt or wherever you were, sis? What's up? What's going on, Kimberly? Sharing this on my other pages, you guys. Want you to do the same as you come into the room. Ooh wee. Hey Barry, what's up, dude? Happy to see you virtually, Barry. Happy to see you. I have been busy, busy, busy. And there's a lot going on other than, the stuff that everybody else is talking about. So I just wanted to come to you real quick. And I hesitate to say anything, but it seems like those bugs have been worked out. My picture looks good to me. Does it look good to you? Let me raise this volume a little bit. Is my volume okay, everybody? No, no buffering, none of that stuff going on. Share this on your timeline. There's some other things that I want to talk to you about besides, like I said, the stuff that everybody else is talking about. I want to give you some updates and just kind of tell you what's going on. So let me get started with one of the officers who was arrested in the murder of George Floyd is out on $750,000 bail. His name is Thomas Lane. And, his family set up a GoFundMe. And listen, y'all can't be mad at them if they support one another and we don't. I'm just saying. I don't know what the conditions were. Hey, Michelle. Oh, Kim, you got the king. Good for you, sis. Um, I don't know what the conditions of his release were. I'm sure it's probably some ankle monitoring and, you know, yeah, stuff like that. But anyway, he's out, $750,000 bail. And let me tell you, these characters, these other three that have been charged, they're coming up with some really fantastical stories about why they didn't intervene and stop the murder of George Floyd. And so I guess they're kind of, everything that's being said by their attorneys right now is being said because there's a potential jury pool who's listening. And you've heard me say many, many times, great deference is given to what an officer says. It's hard to argue what's in someone's head. And so that's why, you guys, when you get these jury summons, you got to go. You never know if you're going to be the one who's selected to be a part of a grand jury, which I think they impanel for as long as a year, and they'll keep calling you back and forth to appear on very important matters or just garden variety trials. You got to be showing up for those summons if you want to be called. It's important. So this is part of what these knuckleheads, the other three, are saying. First of all, they're trying to blame bystanders. They're blaming bystanders and saying that they should have done more to step in and stop Floyd's murder. The bystanders, not any one of them. Now the bystanders don't carry guns. They do. The bystanders don't have a duty to report. They do. The bystanders didn't have a responsibility to not acquiesce misconduct, aka murder. They do, but now somehow they want to shift the blame on bystanders. And then this Lane character, and I said this, you guys, I know what I know. Hashtag, I know what I know. Lane, he says that he was down at the legs, the feet area of George Floyd, and so he had no idea what was going on. He had no idea that Derek Chauvin was kneeling on Floyd's neck. Okay, well, good luck with that, sir. That's his story, and clearly he's going to stick to it. And then he says through his attorney, this Lane guy, he's 37 years old. And let me just say this is a fully developed grown ass man, 37, trying to say because he only had a few days in the field as a police officer that somehow, he's almost akin to a child who's being reared by a parent and doesn't really know what to do. I need you guys on that jury. He says it's evident through his attorney. It's evident that Floyd was under the influence of some kind of drug. Now, if he's only been out in the field for a mere 4 shifts, how is it evident to him? Because he claimed to not know nothing. But anyway, that's his story, and he's sticking to it. And so I'm sure the others are going to try to float this same nonsense about, we were too new and green to not to be responsible. And stop the murder. Now, let me just say this for those of you who may not know. It doesn't matter how much time you have on the job, rank does not matter with regards to misconduct. If you see misconduct, you got to stop it and report it. Or at the very least, if you see a murder, if you see citizens walking up and saying, hey, he can't breathe, can I take his pulse? Let me help. If you hear the person that you're leaning on, 3 of them, clearly all of them weighed more than 100 pounds. Let's just be conservative. 125. I know they all weighed more than that. They're men. Even the little guy, the little half a man. That's over 300 pounds on Mr. Floyd's body, preventing him from being able to take air in and his diaphragm work properly. I would assume. I'm not a doctor and I haven't played one on TV, but you get my point, right? All 3 of them are putting their weight on him. And so they had a duty, irregardless, and that's not a word, I know, in spite of their time on the job. They all had the responsibility, affirmative responsibility, to stop what was going on, and they didn't. And so that bullshit about, well, I was just too new and all of that, it doesn't hold water. Now, I said, because I know what I know, I said that these guys probably were intimidated by jackass Siobhan, whatever his name is, and didn't want to intervene. Probably were just hoping if we could just make it through this shift, because I've said every division has a Chauvin, the jackass that nobody wants to work with. And so, if it's your time in the bucket, you guys know that story about your time in the bucket or in the barrel, right? Somebody told me, the whole little joke behind that. I can't go into it here, but everybody was lining up at the barrel and they were having a good time until it was their turn in the barrel. If you know the joke, you know what I'm talking about. Kimberly, I can't explain third-degree manslaughter versus whatever you're asking because I'm not an attorney, and so I'm not going to even go there. Staying in my lane, sis. Staying in my lane. Um, yeah, Barry, right? Bystanders should always tackle armed police. Yeah, right? Because you saw when they even got a little too close, Mr. Billy Badass, Mr. Chauvin reached in his pocket. Well, he had his hands in his pocket anyway, and I think he had his hands in his pocket because he was creating additional leverage because he looked a little light in the ass to me. I think he probably wasn't as well built, if you will, as George. And so I think part of him having his hands in his pocket and on his tiptoes on the boot of the tiptoe of his boot was to create leverage. That's what I think. But he pretended as if he were going to pull out mace, or he did, and then put it back in his pocket. So that whole thing about the citizens had a responsibility, FOH is all I'm saying. And now we know, because more information is coming out. Now we know that, and I wasn't sure about this, but I've seen it reported, so I'll go ahead and say this. I knew that Chauvin and George Floyd worked at the same club as bouncers. Didn't necessarily know that the two knew each other. Their paths had crossed. I know a lot of cops work off duty, and it's quite possible that they could not have crossed paths, but now it's being reported in the news that actually no, they knew each other. Chauvin knew him and had beef with him, didn't really like him. And so that explains now why we see him just sit there with great disdain and disgust for Floyd, as everyone was saying, get off of him. And he was like, you know what? This is my opportunity finally now, because I'm Billy Badass. I got this uniform on and I'm somebody today. I may not be anybody when I'm a bouncer, because that nobody knows who I am when I'm at the door in my civilian clothes, don't get the same respect. But today I'm in uniform. I'm Billy Badass. I don't like this Negro. And so he gonna learn today. Well, Mr. Chauvin, looks like you're gonna learn today. Thus, the murder charge. And now I think he's wearing some kind of fucking Velcro smock because he's, they're concerned he might commit suicide. The punk way out, the coward way out. Anyway, don't get me started, family. I am trying to pace myself and just, yeah. Yeah, Carol, he thought he was going to get away with that OBS because listen, he'd gotten away with it 18 other times. Had there not been folks recording and all of what was going on, this would have been complaint number 19. And let's not pretend that Minnesota doesn't know that. Now, let me say this because the brother man who's the police chief over there, he inherited this crazy ass. The brother man who's the police chief on the Minnesota Police Department actually was part of a lawsuit some years ago. Now, he didn't prevail. It was him and several other police officers who sued for discrimination and foolishness that goes on that department. And I guess that may have been part and parcel as to why he decided to try to become the police chief because he really was interested in making some change. And so he says that, he's about that life and he's going to do it. And so I say with him and all the others, um, watch what they do and not what they say. Okay, so James, now you're saying the person who said that they knew each other has recanted the story. You think that they may have been threatened, and so that's why they recanted. Well, it don't matter. It really doesn't matter whether they knew each other or not, because I didn't need Chauvin to know Floyd as he sat there for 8 minutes and 46 seconds on his neck, using his toes to create additional leverage. I didn't need him to know him for that. I can argue intent. They could be complete strangers, never have seen one another. Because listen, George Floyd was in handcuffs. It wasn't about overcoming resistance. He wasn't a threat. He wasn't non-compliant. That was pure and simple punishment. White man not liking the black man, and I'm going to punish him because I can, because they've allowed me over 18 prior complaints to do this. So clearly they're okay with me doing it. I think I'll do it one more time. Only this time it ended in the death. So, um, yeah, I don't need them to know one another. I mean, if they do, they do, but I don't need it. Um, okay, Jamie, you said you thought you saw him pressing down on his knee through his pocket. Yeah, I think he was creating leverage because he looked a little light in the ass to me. But I'm just saying. Hey Marie, how are you, sis? Thanks for the congratulations. I appreciate that. So anyway, that's what's going on. Also today, important news out of Louisville, Kentucky. Breonna's law was passed 26-0 by Louisville City Council, and it's expected that the mayor is going to sign Breonna's law, which speaks to no knock warrants. You can no longer serve a no knock warrant in Louisville. City Council passed with a 26-0 vote. And over in Minnesota, they are also concerned. The governor is talking about making sweeping police reform, and that will include investigations that involve death by an officer is now going to be conducted by the attorney general, taking it out of the hands of the local prosecutor. This is something, family, that you guys can get behind wherever it is that you are living. Take it out of the hands of the DA. I've said all along they have a symbiotic relationship with the police department, and it just makes sense that someone other than the district attorney would handle that. And speaking of district attorneys, I guess Jackie Lacey found her spine. Who knew? I tell you, politicians understand one thing, and that's votes. She was in a primary that was very close, and it took some days and weeks before they could figure out whether or not she was going to go uncontested. And so she's facing a challenger in November. Jackie Lacey, DA Jackie Lacey, is facing a challenger in November. So guess what? A couple of days ago, Sister Girl decided she was going to press criminal charges against the LAPD officer. Didn't even know that was in her DNA. So she's going to press criminal charges against the LAPD officer over in Hollenbeck Division. You guys saw the video. You heard me talk about that officer who was putting in work. He was putting in work on that homeless guy who was supposedly in some kind of abandoned building, and the officer was just beating him and beating him and beating him as his female partner stood by and act like she was a damn referee at a MMA match. Well, Jackie Lacey, because she understands votes and she needs them in November. I don't know if you guys are going to be so forgiving. I don't know LA. I don't live in LA, but yeah. Anyway, she filed charges. We'll see what's happening. What happens with that ultimately? In Buffalo, New York, there is a police commissioner who has recently suspended a dispatcher over there who wrote on Facebook, and I just love it when these people tell you who they are. When they do, believe them. This dispatcher has been suspended, not fired. They probably should have fired his punk ass, but they suspended him because he went on Facebook and was calling for police to shoot and kill protesters. The dispatcher's name is Bob Martin, a Buffalo Police Department dispatcher. Bob Martin, suspended. And then I just heard from a family member, thank you. I'm just going to use your initials, KR. I know that you have been communicating with me on Twitter and other platforms with regards to the Costco shooting. You guys remember the story I talked about? LAPD officer, somebody Sanchez, got involved in a shooting at Costco off duty, shot a 32-year-old mentally challenged man by the name of Kenneth French, said that this Kenneth French punched him, slapped him, and the officer claims to have lost consciousness. And when he came to, he lost consciousness while he was holding his son in his arms. I don't know if he dropped the baby or if he was able to hold on to him as he was unconscious. But when he came to, his first mind was to just shoot 6 times. I mean, what the hell? Makes sense to me. If I come to, I'm gonna just fire off 6 quick rounds and then figure out what the hell did I just do. So LAPD Police Chief Michael Moore is doing a punctious pilot. The cheese stands alone on this one. Out of policy shooting, which is what I said all along because I know what I know. And so now, in addition to the family suing for battery, negligence, civil rights violations, intentional and negligent infliction of emotional stress, that officer has got some splaining to do because now he's going to be facing criminal charges. And I guess LA City and Chief Michael Moore are going to be making sure they got enough ink in their pen to fill in all the zeros that are going to have to be filled in because of this officer doing this old dumb stuff. I know, KR, you were wondering if there's anything that can be done with the prosecutor in Riverside. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, for anyone who is looking for justice for the family of Kenneth French, you guys know what to do. You see what happens when you get busy, when you get engaged. Had no one gotten involved in the Ahmaud Arbery situation, charges would not have been filed within 48 hours. We had been waiting, the family had been waiting for weeks and months to get some kind of redress. And all of a sudden, when folks went viral with the information, charges got filed. So, KR, talk to your people there on the ground with you, the family, and others who are looking for justice for the family of Kenneth French and criminal charges to be filed against this LAPD officer. And, see what you can get done. Also, there is renewed interest in a death that occurred back in 2013. And this is a young black high school student. His name is Kendrick KJ Johnson. Kendrick Johnson. And this was a big deal because this young man, many of you may have seen the images. He was found rolled up in a wrestling mat in the gym at the high school. And I'm not into conspiracies, and I don't know this to be true, but it was reported that his organs were missing. I know some of you guys really think folks are out there killing us to harvest our organs. I don't know that to be the case. I have met the family. I believe I met the family personally, but certainly we have been kind of in touch peripherally because of um, conversations and relationships that I have with some families who have lost loved ones. And so this family has been waiting, wanting something to be done in terms of a substantive investigation into the death of their son, Kendrick KJ Johnson in Georgia. So now there is a renewed interest, and maybe there'll be an additional look see, if you will, into his case. So if anyone is speaking about this, writing about it, the hashtag that the family is using is J, the number 4, Kendrick, justice for Kendrick, no doubt. Over in Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, there's a sister girl police chief over there, Diane Hobley Burney, and she made an announcement on YouTube that 2 of her officers have now been arrested for pretty much assaulting a man who was in their custody. Video surfaced showing the officers slapping, punching, and hitting this man. Why? Well, because he was intoxicated and they say combative. And listen, that's inherent to police work. That's what drunk people do. They act a fool. They run their mouth and they don't cooperate, but you don't get to just beat the shit out of them. And that's what they did with this man. And so now Officer Albert Eckroad, he's a 4-year employee, which explains, you know, generally, between say 2 to 8 years, that's when an officer is kind of smelling themselves, kind of like a pubescent teen who, starting to get a little hair under their arms. Well, yeah, 4 or 5 years on the job, you're Billy Badass. And so this officer, Albert Eckroad, just turned himself in along with his partner who had 1 year on the job, Monica Frederick, for this incident that occurred back on February 20th. The male officer, Albert Eckroad, is facing 2 felony charges of battery and official misconduct, and his dumbass partner, Monica Frederick, is facing charges of false reporting of a commission of a crime. So after they put hands on this man, you know what happens. When they put hands on you, you got to go to jail. So they made up a reason to put him in jail, and they did. And I'm sure charges were probably dropped or soon will be. Over in Jacksonville, the sheriff department is investigating some kind of interaction with one of their deputies. Now, it sounds like this deputy was responding to a radio call and pulled up in this woman's driveway, and she didn't really like it. So she came outside and had a word or two with him about parking in her driveway. And then she called 911 to see if they couldn't get this guy out of her driveway. Well, he didn't like it. There was a video that was taken and something happened in the video that you can't really see because there's a scuffle, the video camera drops, and then the next time we see sister girl, she's missing some teeth. So there's an investigation, and don't know what's going to happen, but if I find out more, I'll let you know. And then in San Francisco, there's a female police officer who's been seen on video recording, putting her knee on the neck of a 19-year-old kid. And this female officer, of course, is being supported by the San Francisco Police Officers Association. All of these police unions lobbying arms of the police department. I said it on CNN and I'm going to say it again, whether it's the Fraternal Order of Police, Benevolent Patrolmen's Association, San Francisco Police Officers Association, they seemingly have not seen an assault, an attack, or a murder of a black man, woman, or child that doesn't excite them. The president of that union, his name is Tony Montoya, and he says, so here's how he's explaining this away. He says that the officer didn't kneel on the guy's neck, which is why I take issue with this whole 8 can't wait, because they're trying to ban chokeholds and all this other stuff. And I said, when we see a chokehold, like we did in the case of Eric Garner, they told us that wasn't a chokehold. That was an upper body seatbelt restraint, mumbo jumbo. So Tony Montoya over on San Francisco says, oh, no. She wasn't applying pressure to his neck. Here's what she was doing. To effectuate an arrest, a department-approved restraint was applied to the suspect's upper shoulder blade, not neck, until the suspect was under control. And then the restraint was released. And so, wasn't a chokehold, it wasn't pressure on his neck. It was a department approved restraint applied to effectuate an arrest. Code talk, family. Code talk. So y'all can ban chokeholds all you want. Eight can't wait. Y'all can ban chokeholds, and then when we see it, they just go say that wasn't a chokehold. That was a seatbelt restraint. Upper body, you know. I can only take one blood pressure pill a day, and I've already had mine, and it's much late into the evening, several hours before my next. So I'm going to stop. This young man was eventually arrested again because why? When they put hands on you to effectuate an arrest, you're going to jail. He spent 5 days in jail and is currently facing charges. Now, this happened back on January 25th, so there's a possibility that whenever trials open back up, because courts have been dark, and there's a possibility that once this thing goes to trial, that the charges will be dropped. But nonetheless, this young man has spent nights in jail, has a record, and all of what goes with spending 5 nights in jail. So you can't undo that. Okay, family, that is it. I one other thing that I wanted to share with you is looking at your comments real quick. Okay, Daryl, you said that the Chauvin was wearing black gloves, so it looked like his hands were in his pocket, but they weren't. Okay, I wouldn't there, dude. I don't know. Hands in his pocket, hands not. Tomato, tomato. Really makes no difference to me. Um, I did do a Zoom conference earlier this evening, and I want to share this with you because this was a group called the Black Psychiatrists Association, Psychiatric Association. And so let me just first say thank you to Dr. Danny for involving me in that discussion. I tried to share it on my Facebook um, timeline so you guys could see it real time. But we were talking about mental illness and law enforcement, and so there's some legislation that's being considered right now, and it has to do with creating a telephone number like 911 for police. This would be 988 if you were to have someone who's having a mental episode and you need professionals, not police, to come and maybe kill them, right? Because that happens. So let's not pretend it doesn't. So Google it and take a look and see if there's anything in your town with regards to 988 being the number to call. And if, as we wait for that to become law, there's also an opportunity and a way in which you can get help for a loved one. You can text the letters NAM as in Mary I, NAMI. Text NAMI to 741-741 if you have someone in crisis. And that is the number connected to, I believe, the Black Psychiatrists of America, I believe. That's the association that's also connected with this NAMI. I don't know exactly what NAMI stands for, but you can text N as in Nora, A as in Apple, M as in Mary, I as in Ida, to 741-741 if you have someone in crisis and you just don't feel comfortable calling the police. There's also a telephone number associated with this organization, and it's area code 855-435-5077. So that's how I spent my evening, and I wanted to share that information with you. So, whew, in my Michael Clark Duncan voice, I was tired. I was tired and I was hungry. So I'm about to go and have a little dinner. I'm going to shut it down, and then I'm going to National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. Thank you for that, Juanetta. National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, NAMI. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to eat, and I usually don't like to eat after 7 p.m. So I got to hurry up because it's 7:09 according to my clock, and and then I'm gonna shut it down, and then I'll do this all over again tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your kind words of support. Juanetta, thank you. And let me just do this in the comments. I'm putting NAMI text to 741-741 for anyone in mental crisis. Okay. Because there's lots of stuff going on, family, and so I just wanted to share some of that with you. And I'm sure I know you guys. I see you. You guys have changed channels. Ain't nobody stomping around town, and you know, Brother George has been laid to rest. They they did it right. Yeah, that was Reverend Al. He did the fire and brimstone twice, and the horse-drawn carriage. You can't help but be moved by all of that. But listen, there is much work to be done. Do not be distracted. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And so while that's over, it's not. And understand, if not you now, you could be next. And so I need you guys to stay singularly focused on for real, police reform. All politics are local. Every police chief serves at the pleasure of a mayor. Politicians understand votes. Mayors are elected officials. District attorneys are elected officials. Governors, you understand, are elected. We have an election coming up at the end of the month. Pay attention not only to the top of the ticket, Tink Tink, and the Christian, as well as everything lower on the ticket, local stuff. So, whew, thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Thanks, Frederick. I appreciate you. So yeah, I'm gonna shut her down. I'm gonna shut her down, family. And if something jumps off and I need to come back, I will. Subbies, hey, what's up? I didn't mean to ignore you. I am going to soon upload this so that you guys can see what's going on today. And just one other personal note, you guys know I am now being represented by Authentic Talent and Literary Management. Big deal. This has been a 2 year long pursuit for me. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about who Authentic is. They are so exclusive. They are such the big deal. When I was looking to try to get their attention, I was like, hey, I'm over here. You go to their website and it pretty much says, look, unless you know somebody who we know, don't even come here with your foolishness. And so thank you, Ira. Thank you, Ira, for putting me in touch with our buddy. I'm just gonna call him the hummingbird, Ira. You know who I'm talking about it. And I told the hummingbird that I affectionately refer to him that way. He has been working hard over the last 2 years on a project that is near and dear to his heart and therefore near and dear to me, which ultimately put me before talent. I mean authentic. Put me in front of authentic. And so I am so appreciative. This has been, a grind, a long time coming. And, I said in my post on Facebook, I have long ago learned to trust the Lord. I just give it to him, and then I really truly don't worry about it, because once you give it to God, you can't worry about it, right? You got to give it to him and just walk away and let him do what he does. And I mean to tell you, my God is amazing. And so I thank you, Ira, for putting me in touch with the hummingbird. And so since I'm telling you about the hummingbird, let me just give you a visual, because you guys know I'm stupid, right? So this is the hummingbird. He has been working hard, hard, hard. And the reason that I call him the hummingbird is because if you've ever seen one and you know how quickly their little wings flap, right? So I describe my hummingbird as almost about to run out of nectar. This is how he operates, and he's been operating at this level for the for the last 2 years. And when I told him, he laughed and he says, "You know what? I'll take that." He's like a hummingbird that's just about to run out of nectar, and he don't have a damn clue about where the next flower is. Imagine that. And he's trying to figure out where's the next flower, because you know what happens if the hummingbird runs out of damn nectar. He just gonna die. And so that's how hard he's been working on behalf of the project that's near and dear to his heart, and therefore near and dear to mine. And I appreciate him, and it has provided some other opportunities, and my God has opened up some other doors. So thank you, Ira. Tell the hummingbird, and I will when I talk to him next. He knows already I love him. And thank you, family, for just being so encouraging, and for sticking in there with me. And I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Subbies, I love you, love you. Appreciate you as well. And I am almost reaching a milestone on my YouTube channel. I'm nearing 10,000 subscribers, which is tough to do for anybody who's on social media. You already know it's hard to get followers and subscribers, particularly on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. And so all of a sudden, this um, flurry of interviews that I've been doing over these last week and a half, 2 weeks, with regards to police reform and what it looks like, and accountability, and how I think you get it. Yeah, folks are listening. Folks are listening. And so as long as they're listening, I'm talking. And truth be told, even if they ain't listening, I'm talking. I'm going to just say it, because I come from a place of, if you build it, they will come. And so I've been building, family, and I thank you for handing me bricks along the way. That's it. 7:16. I got to go. Be good. Be safe.